Welcome back to the channel. Hope you had a nice winter holiday break. I did, yeah. My kids had a great break. They're out sledding today, just giving me an opportunity to make a little video. A subscriber asked me just to describe how I organize photos and especially because I'm a film photographer, right? The sort of the negatives and yeah, etc. So I'm going to describe my process with a little commentary at the end. So, right, I scan into Capture One, and I've set it up so it creates a folder structure, right? I get a capture folder and then creates some other folders too. And that's going to create a folder inside of a location I've chosen, which for me, I have disk volumes, but really sort of the main hierarchy here is the year, so 2024, and then within the year, I'll create all my folders. So you can see I have like Oakland in December, right, in a folder that's called Pictures 2024, and it's almost 2025, so I'm about to switch over and make it a new Pictures 2025 folder. And so this session is called Oakland in December, which hopefully I've given it a name that, right, is going to be what I would look for in the future if I'm trying to be like, oh, those pictures from Oakland, or I took that trip in December, right? December. Um, I'm trying to help myself out with a really good name, right? Um, okay. And then, right, so this was actually a lot of rolls. This was like 10 or 11 rolls of film that I shot, like half color, half black and white. Um, Something I've learned about myself, right, is that the process has to be pretty lean and simple. Um, right, I really don't like it when I sort of get behind in organizing and storing to the point where it's sort of preventing me from wanting to do photography, right? So, right, that's definitely happened to me. Right, nothing bums me out more when I've got like 8 rolls of film or more that I need to cut and sleeve and name and whatever. Right, that's just not a sticking point that I want. So I have simplified over the years. So what I did here is I'm cutting in either strips of, right, 6 frames or 7 frames, and then I take all of it, right? Let's call it 10 rolls. I take all of that and I stick it in an envelope. So let me show you what those look like. So these are negative envelopes, and or you can they can be 7 frames long. I sort of like 6 because I don't like to have to fight with fitting it in just right. So my default is to cut in strips of 6 frames, and then I just throw all of it into an envelope. And what's awesome about it is it's a lot of room on both sides. I use the front side where I can write, right, Oakland in December, and then I can say, this was black and white and color, and then I might list out some of like what I think are the best shots, right? Or just things keywords that'll kind of trigger memories for me of what's in this roll. So I'm using a pencil and I'm just sort of making some quick notes. It might be development notes. It might be, right, just it's so much space on these envelopes that I can write quite a bit. Right, and that's like pencil and paper writing, not like Sharpie on a negative sleeve type thing. Um, so yeah, and that way I got it is a little bit tough to get 10 rolls in there. So I think in this one I actually made a part one and a part two. So I used 2 envelopes for this. Um, yeah, but usually I don't. Right, usually a session would only be one roll up to maybe 3 or 4 rolls, and then that would easily fit in one of these envelopes where I would name it. And then that envelope will go inside a storage box, one of these archival storage boxes, and the box will be for a year. So the box is for 2024, and so I can go here and see all of my folders that I created for 2024, and then each one of those folders will have an envelope, and all of those envelopes will live inside this storage box for the year. And then when the new year comes, right, I move this box to the a different spot on my shelf, and I get a new box for $9.99. Right. So then in 2 years, if I want to find a negative, I'm like, okay, well, what year was that? Okay, it was 2024. And then I might come to sort of where I've organized, okay, what was the name of that? Okay, it was the Gorge Museum. And then then I'm going to open up this thing and look for an envelope that says the Gorge Museum. And then I got to open up the negatives and, pull out my little light table and find the one I'm looking for. And this box is actually big enough where I think most people could probably fit more than 1 year. It could be your 2023, 2024 box. Or you could, add prints, right? This is, you can put up to 11 by 14 prints in this thing, right? Because this sort of be your holding box for anything related to that year. Yeah. Before I started using the envelopes, I used these familiar things. These ended up being my favorite, the ones that were 6 frames wide, 7 rows. You can easily get, right, a roll, if you get 38, 39 shots or whatever, maybe you snip the roll, whatever. This always fits your roll. And then also it's the kind that doesn't have the holes on the side, because I'm not putting these into ring binders. I was just tossing them into my storage box. And also these are actually a little bit easier to use than the ones that are a little bit wider, with like the binder holders, that you can get the negatives in and out a little bit faster. But still, like I just found, I found this process of sleeving just not be something I enjoy, right? And that's, I know that it's awesome to be able to pull that out and sort of see all the negatives, and maybe it's better protection. I don't know if it is. So I don't know. I think I did this for a long time before I finally switched over to these envelopes, and I'm happy I switched to the envelope system, especially because I prefer just kind of take notes on the envelope. Yeah. Okay. So some commentary about my system. That's not just obvious, right? I think, right, one of my favorite photographers, he doesn't even keep his negatives, right? And has a strong opinion about that. He's just like, take a really great scan, handle your digital storage, right? Whether you got to have 2 copies of that, one on the cloud, whatever you're doing to have a secure storage of your digital file, and then just throw your negatives away. Like, don't deal with them. And I think that's great as long as you have a really great scanning setup, and you're not in 5 or 10, 15 years going to be like, oh, why'd I get rid of the negative? Because now my ability to scan is going to be so much better. Right. Or, yeah. So, I've made a lot of progress with the quality of my scans, and I'm still to this point always glad that I've held on to negatives, and I still think that in 5 years my scans will be better than they are now, and it'll be great to have the negatives. And I still haven't quite let go of, like, I still want the negatives just for, like, what if, or someday way down the road it'll be, I don't know. So, but I sort of have the storage space. I don't know. In 5 years I'm going to be like, where do all these boxes go? But I'm hanging in there for the time being. And then there's like, I think on the other end of the spectrum, right, on one end it's like just throw your negatives away. On the other end is like no, some obsessive amount of, right, creating contact sheets and doing storage, these storage pages, and really careful notation and organization and protection, almost to the point where, like, you see those Magnum photographers that just have really elaborate and careful organization system as part of like their archive and their library, and sort of creates the 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 awesomeness that is a Magnum photographer, right? Um, and I don't know. I don't know. Like, you know, when I think to the future of like, beyond my years, I don't think I really want my kids like, going through all my negatives, right? I would sort of rather, right? That's sort of why I make YouTube videos, right? It's like I'd rather have my kids watch some of my YouTube videos than kind of digging through all of Dad's old negatives. So I don't know. I'll just wrap up there. It's a pretty simple question. I'll just give a simple answer. So if you have more questions, put them in the comments, please. And I'm actually going to order more of these because I was nervous that they had stopped making them, because it was probably 6 months where these were not available. But they are available again. So I'm going to find something else to order from B&H for my free shipping and make sure I get some before you do. Okay, right. Take care.